Adventures in Beer Selling. Welcome to episode 3. Check out the ABS podcast on all platforms. Remember two things. 1 and 2. Protect your motherfucking neck.
So before we start this story, I want to give kind of some insight on who I am and what I believe. And one thing I'm a stickler on is calling people genius. I just don't throw that word around that easy. I do not call everybody a genius, right? I think to be a genius, your level of intellect rises above education and privilege, right? So you have to be starting at a low level, and then you have to be performing intellectually at such a high level for me to call you a genius, disregarding education and privilege. So here's an example, like Elon, right? A lot of people say Elon's a genius. I would say he's not. It's easy, not saying he's not talented, not saying he's not smart, but it's easier to do things when your daddy owns a gem mine, right? You can go and say, I want to create a futuristic car if you have this kind of money, that you're growing up with. It puts you in a realm to think on that level. But somebody who, let's say, grew up in abject poverty and then comes up with the idea to create a futuristic car with no concept of what that is, I would say that person would be a genius, right? Kanye. They always call him Kanye a genius. I would say he's not a genius. I would say he's talented because he doesn't play any instruments. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a hater, but he doesn't play any instruments. So he's taking created concepts, piecing them together beautifully, I might add, and then reforming that and putting that in front of a consumer. And it's great, but is it genius? See, he's got the privilege of having people already have made the music, and then he's sampling it and then putting it back out there. I'm fully aware that these opinions aren't popular, but I'm just saying I'm very, very suspicious when somebody calls someone a genius, because I'm looking to see what barriers they had, and then I'm saying they're a genius. I think it was Malcolm Gladwell that was talking about how some of the smartest people, the same like high level business people that are high performing, they usually have the same qualities as people that are like in the penitentiary. The only difference is whatever access that they had that the other person didn't. So if they grew up in a 2-parent home, whatever the case may be. I know none of this has to do with beer. I'm just giving you this. I'm setting the stage for you. So you have a lot of people that are locked up that are freaking geniuses, but maybe they had some kind of learning disability that they didn't have someone there to teach them or help them advance. And so they use their genius powers towards crime, right? There's a lot of people in my life I could say, not that I have a bunch of criminals, but you get what I'm saying. These guys I'm about to tell you about, they were absolute geniuses. absolute geniuses, because don't know them, but I imagine the idea that they came up to do with what they did was literally them sitting around drinking and saying, hey, I got a great way we can make some money. And it worked. So, when I was an area sales manager for a beer distributor, one of the things that I had to often deal with was transfer trucks. So, if you don't know what a transfer truck is, let me kind of break it down. The brewery makes the beer. The distributor sells the beer. So we have this thing called the 3-tiered system, right? You have suppliers that make the beer. The distributors sell the beer to on and off premise accounts. On premises being restaurants, bars, etc. Off premise, you're drinking off the premises. Convenience stores, grocery stores, etc. So supplier makes the beer. Distributor gets the beer, sells the beer to the store sells the beer to you, the consumer. Well, when you're doing that, you're having to deal with a couple of different logistical issues with trucks. So there is a transfer truck that brings the beer from the brewery to the distributor. And then there is the distributor truck that takes it to the grocery store, convenience store, bar, restaurant, etc. And the transfer trucks were usually the really weird part of everything, because that's where everything started. So if you are going to rob one of our trucks, you're probably going for the money, which there was a safe. So, I mean, that's kind of dumb. If you're going to rob a transfer truck, you're going for the product. And those transfer trucks have been involved in a lot of crazy things. I mean, one time there was a transfer truck, and I can't remember where it was coming from, but when it pulled into our warehouse, they pulled out pallets of it. This happens with a lot of vegetable and produce transfer trucks. I'm giving the game here, so please, I'm not connected. Don't come after me. When they're pulling the produce or whatever, and in this case it was beer, they're pulling it out. After you get about 6 pallets deep, drugs, just packed full of drugs. And then there's, product, then more drugs, right? So they were using the transfer truck as a mule. One time, a guy that worked for me was on a transfer truck, and he was driving through a neighborhood, which shouldn't do, and literally guy gets on top of the transfer truck. The other guy's running around. He's trying to figure out what's going on. The guy on top slides through the top of the transfer truck, jumps over to the windshield, AK-47 right to his head. Get out of the truck, right? So this is often. Now, I don't know how much it happens now. Early 2000s, 90s, 80s. This was a thing. Well, this particular transfer truck was on its way to our distributor. It was running behind already, and we had to take our distributor truck and reload it with as much product as we could because the transfer truck had not arrived, and we didn't have enough product to meet all of our customers' needs. So we waited a little bit for the transfer truck. When it didn't arrive, we sent the driver out there. Then I'm a manager. I'm heading out to the market to help that driver out because I know he's going to be behind. And I get a call from my boss and the police. We need you to show up in your area to this undisclosed street, East Houston. So you guys are familiar with, the kind of environment it is. So I pull up. There's that transfer truck that we've been waiting on. There's a guy sitting on the edge of an ambulance, talking it over, something with the police, the transfer truck driver. And my boss is sitting there talking with a detective or whatever. He invites me over and he's like, the transfer truck got jacked. Now, like I told you, you rob a distributor truck for money. I mean, if you're 16-year-old kid, you're stealing beer. But if you are a criminal, you're robbing it for money. This particular transfer truck was robbed for product. That's what you rob a transfer truck for. So we're going through it. They've taken about 50-60% of the product out of the transfer truck. It's like, wow, okay, cool. These guys are about to drink it up or sell it or whatever. And police officer asked me some questions. We're talking. We're having a good time, trying to figure out what's going on. And he just says, keep your eyes and ears open. These guys couldn't have gotten far. We don't know what's going on, but, this, that, and third. So we're trying to figure out what's going on. We answer some questions for the police, and then we go on about our business because the transfer trucks in general are controlled by the brewery. Because I knew the area, that's the only reason I'm answering questions. So, where I think the guys, what direction they might have went or whatever. I'm really no help in the situation. But I immediately go to help my driver. I meet my driver at one of his stops, and he says, hey, man, this guy says he's already got his product. You been here already? He goes, no. I guess he just didn't sell everything from last week. I was like, that's crazy. Must have been slow. We go to the next spot. This guy's like, hey, man, we didn't sell nothing. We're full. I look in this cooler, packed full. We go to the third stop. The guy's like, hey, you guys have already been here. Okay. So now I'm scratching my head. I go to one more stop. Hey, yeah, we already got our order today. I said, who delivered it? Your guys in a U-Haul. So, pause. Let me tell you something about people that own stores, especially people that own stores in underprivileged communities, so to speak. They about that money, saving it and getting it. All these people, they know damn well that this is stolen product that they're buying. But you don't have to pay taxes on it at the end of the year. So they're buying this cash. These brothers had got U-Haul trucks, filled them up full of product, and went on my driver's mapped route and delivered that product. And we're talking about fast. Quickly delivered this product to every stop. When we get further into their area, 2 U-Hauls on fire. Collected their cash, and they were out of town. I was stunned. I mean, we're talking about maybe an hour. They robbed the truck, loaded the U-Haul, took the U-Haul down Mesa Road, and just started delivering stops. One after the other, collecting cash, set the U-Hauls on fire. These are geniuses. These are true geniuses because I'm willing to bet they didn't have a daddy that owned a gem mine, or they wouldn't be stealing truck off a transfer truck, beer off a transfer truck. So anyways, they never catch the guys, but we have some meetings with the detective, and he's like, what are we going to do? We have some leads. These guys are probably going to strike again. I'm like, not if they're smart, they ain't going to strike again, but whatever. He's like, what do you guys want to do when we catch these guys? And he's so sure of himself, the detective, God bless him. We're going to catch these guys. So, we're going to move forward. What do you guys think we should do? And I said, this is a true statement. I told this to the detective. I said, let me tell you something. If you catch these guys, and I'm just going to put an asterisk, my vote meant nothing in this. I'm just speaking my mind because that's how I roll. If you catch these guys, we don't want to press charges. we want to give those guys an application. We need those guys here. If they can steal and deliver that fast, we need them on our team. But they were never caught. But that, ladies and gentlemen, that's a genius.